Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out the most bizarre UK number ones of the 1980s.
Britain in the 80s had some great number one singles. Songs that summed up a moment, stretched the boundaries of what pop could be, yet have stood the test of time. Ghost Town, Don't You Want Me, Relax, West End Girls, Ride on Time. From this list, you would think the British record buying public had excellent, perfect taste. But then there are other songs where you wonder, how did this become the most popular song in the country?
What is that?
Whether that's being confusingly out of time, defiantly uncommercial, or offensively not very good. This is an exploration of those songs. The stories of the most bizarre UK number ones of the 1980s.
Okay. Alright y'all, this should be fun. Be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. Johnny Mandel and the MASH, May 1980. Theme from MASH. Number one for 3 weeks. I remember that show. Oh, right.
Songs from films charting in the UK are not unheard of. But a film song reaching number one 10 years after the film came out is less common. Especially when it has a radio play restricting word in its title. Suicide is Painless was composed by Johnny Mandel for the 1970 Robert Altman Korean War black comedy MASH.
Suicide is painless. It brings on many.
It was written as part of the joke, emphasizing the meaninglessness of war.
And I can take or leave it if I please.
A dreamy, easy acoustic guitar melody was paired with some lyrics ruminating on death that are decidedly adolescent.
The game of life is hard to play. Gonna lose it anyway.
Quite literally. After Altman attempted to write some words to achieve what he wanted, i.e. the stupidest song ever written, and failed, he tasked his 15-year-old son with the job, who scribbled something down in 5 minutes.
Is it to be or not to be? And I replied, oh, why ask me?
The composition ended up as the film's opening theme, and therefore an instrumental version became the theme for the MASH TV show, which started airing in 1972.
That's what I reckon. I'm so happy.
Robert Altman was paid $70,000 for directing the film. His son earned $1 million from songwriting royalties. But how did it get to number one in the UK in May 1980? In 2 words, Noel Edmonds. Though the TV show was reaching its apex of popularity due to its prominent BBC Two Wednesday evening time slot, it was Edmonds consistently playing the original film theme on his Sunday morning show on Radio 1. They created the demand for CBS to release it as a single. His morning show was the only place you were going to hear it on the radio, as no one else wanted to play it due to its radio-unfriendly title. The fact that the track reached the top spot 2 weeks after Joy Division's Ian Curtis died added some additional sourness to its victory. The single was credited to the MASH, as the original theme had been performed by a collection of LA-based session musicians. As such, they couldn't make it to the required Top of the Pops appearance, so dance troupe Legs & Co. confusingly filled in, creating tonal whiplash.
It's hard to play. I'm gonna lose it anyway.
Whoa. That is bizarre. First of all, okay, I remember the MASH theme song. I didn't know there were words to it. I didn't know it had anything to do with S. I can't say it on YouTube, I don't think. Robert Altman's son was 15 years old and he wrote the lyrics, and he made $1 million from that. I'm so envious of that. I gotta get into songwriting, y'all. Wow. But it was written 10 years before it became a hit. And it was on that's a complicated story. Wow. And then it was on Top of the Pops and a dance troupe did this. Yeah, tonal whiplash is a good phrase for that. Wow.
I'm gonna lose it anyway.
Yo, let's look up the lyrics for the MASH theme song. Lyrics. Through early morning fog, I see visions of the things to be, the pains that are withheld for me. I realize that I can see that S-word is painless. It brings on many changes, and I can take or leave it if I please. Oh, I like the rhyming scheme. The game of life is hard to play. I'm gonna lose it anyway. The losing card I'll someday lay. So this is all I have to say. That does sound like a 15-year-old wrote it. S-word is painless. S-word. It brings on many changes. Changes. And I can take it or leave it if I please. Okay. The sword of time will pierce our skins. It doesn't hurt when it begins. S-word is painless. It brings on many changes. And I can take it or leave it if I please. Right, Gregory? A brave man once requested me to answer questions that are key. Is it to be or not to be? And I replied, oh, why ask me? This sounds like a high school English project. S-word is painted. Okay, and then it does, of course. Squirmy. Squirming. Squirming. Okay, all right. I don't usually let him in this room when he's not in his crate. So he's finally able to explore a little bit. He's just being a little rambunctious. Oh, he found a sock. Okay, I can sacrifice a sock. Just don't chew on any electrical wires. Okay. Joe Dolce Music Theater, February 1981. Shadap You Face. #1 for 3 weeks. Shadap You Face, Joe Dolce Music Theater.
Hello, I'm Giuseppe. I got something special for you. Ready?
Joe Dolce was an Italian-American who in the late 70s moved to Australia with his wife. Less than a year later, they divorced. He was broke, and in a country that seemed to look down on his heritage. In the US, you had people like Frank Sinatra, Robert De Niro, and Joe DiMaggio, shining examples of the American dream, proudly displaying their Italian background. In Australia, there were no Italian entertainers in high esteem. Those from Southern Europe were faced with derision and slurs. Shut Up You Face was Dolce's attempt at flipping the narrative.
And the mama used to say all the time, what's a man to you? Hey, gotta no respect.
Using broken English phrases, he
Shut
remembered
up,
his
you bitch.
Sicilian grandmother saying, a cod Italian accent, and a minimalist mandolin polka backing.
What do you think you do? Why you look so sad? It's not so bad.
He became Giuseppe, a grotesque mocking stereotype, holding a mirror up to his new home's backward attitudes.
It's a nice place. I shut up your face. Mama, she said it all of the time.
Shut up your face.
It's a nice place. I shut up your face. Mama, she said it all of the time.
Catchy, no doubt, but many found it supremely irritating. And sadly, some adopted this satire as a means to laugh at foreigners. Either way, Shut Up You Face was a big deal.
It's a nice place. I shut up your face. Okay, one time for mama, everybody.
In England, Terry Wogan said, "This is the worst thing I've ever heard." So the song got lots of attention. CBS flew me over to do 3 TV shows, and by the time I left, it was already at #3. It went to #1 in 11 countries. In the UK, it kept Ultravox's Vienna off the top for 3 weeks. Which drove Midge crazy. But keyboard player Billy Curry said, "That's a good song. I wish we'd written it." But denying Ultravox #1 isn't the song's only dubious chart achievement. It also, for 3 weeks in February 1981, dislodged the succession of John Lennon songs from the top of the UK chart, following his death in December 1980.
What's the matter, you? Hey, gotta no respect. Hey, what do you think you do?
It was replaced at #1 by Roxy Music's cover of Jealous Sky.
That's John Lennon's song. Right. Shut up your face. Wow, that knocked off John Lennon from the top. That's amazing. Isn't it? Novelty song. Amazing. Shut up your face. Shouldn't it be shut up your face?
As a means to laugh at foreigners.
Let's look up the lyrics to Shut Up Your Face. Luigi Mangione, I cook a pizza, I kill the people. Shut up your face. Shut up your face. Lyrics. He's going to town on that sock. Joe Dolce. Shut up you face. Shut up you face. I got a something special for you. Ready? Uno, duo, tre, quattro. When I was a boy, just about the 8th grade, Mama used to say, don't stay out late with the bada boys. Always shoot a pool. Giuseppe going to flunk a school. Boy, it make me sick, all the ting I gotta do. I can't get no kicks, always gotta follow rules. Boy, it make me sick just to make a lousy bucks. Gotta feel like a fool. And a mama used to say all a time, what's the matter you? Hey, got no respect. What do you think you do? Why you look so sad? It's not so bad. It's a nicer place. I shut up your face. That's on my mama. I can remember. Big accordion solo. Aha, I play that thing. Really nice, really nice. Sooner come a day, gonna be a big star. Then I make a TV shows and a movies. Get myself a new car, but still I be myself. I don't wanna to change a thing. Still a dance and a sing. I think about a mama. And she used to say, what's the matter you? Hey, got no respect. What's a think you do? Why you look so sad? It's a not so bad. It's a nicer place. I shut up your face. Mama, she said it all of the time. Mama was abusive. Sir, you are a victim. Shut up your face. Get that out of my face. Okay. Renee and Renato, October 1982. Save Your Love, #1 for 4 weeks. Save Your Love, Renee.
Do you know what the first ever UK #1 released by an independent label is?
No.
Pump up the volume, dance, dance.
Factory's World in Motion, 4AD's Pump Up the Volume, and the sneakily indie You Spin Me Round Like a Record are all noble guesses. But no, predating all of these is Save Your Love by Renee and Renato.
Save your love, my darling, save your love.
Renato Pagliari
Okay.
was an Italian-born restaurant waiter living in Birmingham. Having impressed patrons with his impromptu opera singing, he won a place on ITV talent show New Faces in 1975 and caught the ear of songwriter John Edwards. Edwards had written a pastiche of sappy love ballads called Save Your Love that he felt Pagliari's emotive warble was perfectly suited.
Serenade, I long to sing you, the reddest rose I always bring you.
However, after playing the track to record labels, no one was biting. It was 7 years
Really?
later the move to make the track a duet, and for Edwards to self-release the single on his own label Hollywood Records, that Save Your Love found its way to the British public under the moniker Renee and Renato.
My darling, save your love. Oh, summer night.
While it was the kind of romantic ballad that always does well at the holidays, the reason this pop opera melange managed to get to #1 went beyond its qualities as a pop song. In contrast to Shut Up You Face, Terry Wogan loved it and played it often on his BBC Radio 2 breakfast show. But mostly, listeners were enthralled by the central mystery of the track. Who was Renee?
She sounds like Olivia Newton-John to me.
By the time the song was released, Renato's singing partner, Hilary Lester, was trying to make it in girl group The Cover Girls, so was not available to promote Save Your Love. As such, the blonde in the video was model Val Perry. The general public, though, wanted to know who the real Renee was. The ensuing media scuffle bumped interest in the song even further, allowing it to snatch Christmas #1 in 1982 away from Shaking Stevens.
That's a good office.
And when Lester was revealed to be Renee, there was additional intrigue.
Okay.
We got asked all the time if we were an item. I was 22 and he was 42, married with 2 children. And not being rude to Renato, but would he be a 22-year-old girl's fantasy? We had a ball, but he saw me as a child. Women fell at Renato's feet, believe me, but they were in their 30s and 40s. His behaviour was always exemplary.
Wow. A similar vibe to Shut Up Your Face, but not comedy, right? Or maybe, I don't know. I didn't expect that. Renato Pagliari. Let's look up Renato Pagliari. Renata Pagliari. Gregory, you shut up your face. You shut up your face. Renati Pagliarina. No, that's not him. Pagliari. There he is. You shut up your face. Mama used to say, shut the f*** up. Pagliari should have done shut up your face. He died in July 2009, age 69, after undergoing surgery for a brain tumor. That's bad news. Big ups to Renato for having a hit song. Way to go. What is this, another Italian song? Paul Hardcastle, May 1985, 19. Number 1 for 5 weeks.
In 1965, Vietnam seemed like just another foreign war.
While acid and Eurohouse would start infiltrating in the latter half of the decade, in 1985 electronic dance music wasn't present in the British charts. What changed that was English former hi-fi salesman Paul Hardcastle with his sample-heavy electro-documentary on the Vietnam War, 19.
He was 19. In Vietnam, he was 19.
I think I've heard this one. Would I have heard this one? This rings a bell.
Hardcastle found his way into dance music after a motorcycle accident. He spent his 18-month recovery listening to club radio, and energized by this music, swapped his video camera for a Mini Korg 700S synthesizer, and started working out how to play it. Once out of hospital, he played in a couple of Brit funk acts, both failing to impact the charts in a significant way. It was only when he went solo in 1984 that things started happening. He announced himself with a cover of D-Train's You're the One for Me. But managed to make number 2 on the US dance chart with his instrumental 5th single, Rainforest. After this, he was signed to Chrysalis Records and acquired a young Simon Fuller, later of the Spice Girls and Pop Idol fame, as his manager. At the same time, an instrumental he had been working on still needed a hook. Musically, he had been inspired by the electro sound of Africa Bambaataa. Building a danceable bed of sound with a Prophet 5 synth and a TR-808 drum machine. But it wasn't until one night when watching a documentary on the Vietnam War, they found what was missing. I was sitting here watching a program one night and I taped it. It really was a well-made documentary, and I knew there was a war, but I didn't know that the average age of soldiers was 19. I thought that was an incredibly low age.
I didn't know that,
and that's what gave me the inspiration to make the record. Of course it's about the Vietnam War, but it's mainly about the fact that those kids were only 19 when they had to go and fight. After the financial windfall from Rainforest, Hardcastle had purchased an EMU emulator sampler and started playing around with it. With this, he sampled fragments of the tape documentary's voiceover, voiced by American broadcaster Peter Thomas, and rebuilt the narration to fit his track.
In World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, he was 19.
This new technology's limitations would have made the song. Only able to sample a couple of seconds of audio at a time, the narrative was achieved by a few key phrases that could be repeated for emphasis.
In Vietnam, the combat soldier typically served a 12-month tour of duty.
Tapping a button on the word 19 gave the track its stuttered hook.
19.
His label was confused by the track. Radio was hesitant to play it. But DJ Tony Blackburn opened the floodgates when he played it on his London radio show. In those days, Radio 1 wouldn't touch dance music. And a record with someone talking about kids dying seemed like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But it was 1985, and the 10th anniversary of the end of the war was suddenly all over the media. I found myself on the ITN News being interviewed by Alistair Stewart. You couldn't ask for better exposure.
Okay, so it is timely. I was wondering why then? Like, it seems like 10 years, or like in the 70s it would have been appropriate, but it was 10 years since it ended. Okay. So it was all in the news. All right. Yeah, that must have seemed really, something really dark about that. I mean, people dying, and like, well, of course it seems dark, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. Paul Hardcastle. Show me on the internet. Hardcastle. Paul Hardcastle was my porn name. An English composer, musician, record producer, songwriter, radio presenter, and multi-instrumentalist. He's best known for 19. Born in Kensington, London, England. He's done a few other things, but no other number one hits. Hey, most people don't have one number one hit, right? A one-hit wonder is a good thing to be. And he made a very poignant one. He can be proud of that.
This video also borrowed from the Vietnam Requiem documentary, cut up by Ken Grumbaum to complement the track. 19 reached number 1 in May 1985 and remained there for 5 weeks. Different mixes with re-edits of the video that aired on Top of the Pops helped maintain interest in the track.
None of them received a hero's welcome. None of them received a hero's welcome. None of them received a hero's welcome.
At the same time blocking one of the biggest bands in the world at the time, Duran Duran, from getting a number 1 with A View to a Kill.
Wow. Wow. That song blocked Duran Duran from a James Bond film? That's wild. I guess it felt probably more important at the time. Wow. This is a weird video, because I don't know. It's bizarre. These are the most bizarre UK number ones of the 1980s. Bizarre. Shut up your face. Nick Berry and EastEnders, October 1986. Every Loser Wins. Number 1 for 3 weeks. Okay.
Starting its endless run on BBC One in February 1985, EastEnders was the anti-Coronation Street. BBC rather than ITV, South rather than North, and often soul-crushingly bleak compared to Corrie's moments of light-hearted comedy. Because of the BBC's no advertisement remit, EastEnders was never a soap opera in the conventional sense. It never had a corporate sponsor, and wasn't trying to sell you anything, unless you count the actors' pop careers in 1986. First came Anyone Can Fall in Love, Anita Dobson's vocal version of the show's theme tune, which sailed to number 4 in August.
Anyone can fall in love, but you must make.
Then in November, Letitia Dean and Paul J. Medford went number 12 with the teen pop of Something Out of Nothing.
Gonna make something out of nothing.
But in between was Nick Berry with Every Loser Wins, and number 1 in October.
Every loser wins once the dream begins.
The fresh-faced Berry played Simon Wixie Wix, introduced in October 1985, and hired in part to shoulder some of the more adult storylines after another actor had left the show prematurely. But also they wanted him to be part of an arc featuring the Square's younger characters, forming a band called The Band. My agent phoned me up and said, "I don't think you're right for it, but go along anyway." They wanted somebody who could play an instrument. I used to play keyboards in a band, which is what I told them, but I think they wanted a pianist. As it is, it's worked out alright. On the show, The Band was a non-starter, undone like most
The band, B-A-N-N-E-D. Okay. I was going to say, the name The Band is really uncreative, even though there was a band called The Band, right? But The Band. Okay.
Alright. On the show, The Band was a non-starter, undone like most other groups by arguments and egos. In the aftermath, Wixie was found in the Queen Vic, playing the in-canon self-penned Every Loser Wins on the pub piano.
Nothing is certain in a changing world.
Sounds like
His
ass.
former bandmates looking on in a mixture of jealousy and disgust.
Just shows how right I was to give you the elbow. Music to vomit by.
What's all this, Simon?
In reality,
Not wrong.
written by EastEnders theme composer Simon May, the studio version of this lightweight ballad would be forced to the top of the charts a week later.
Every loser wins once the dream begins.
What does that
Being
mean?
tied to one of the most watched shows on British television, as well as having the radio heft of the BBC behind them, made Every Loser Wins the second biggest single of 1986, behind the Communards.
Bronski beat.
However, Berry was a bit sheepish about his moment in the pop spotlight. I feel utter shame about my singing. I refused to do Top of the Pops, I was so embarrassed,
Wow.
and had to make some terrible video instead. I think I'll stick to acting.
We nearly made it.
He's not a bad singer. Hang on, I gotta look up the lyrics to that because it doesn't make sense. Every loser wins once the dream begins. Every loser wins. We nearly made it. We nearly found the perfect combination. The road was right. We must have read the signs wrong, and now it's all gone. But if we made it, could we be sure that it was for the better? Who could say we would have stayed together? Nothing is certain in a changing world. Every loser wins once the dream begins. In time you'll see fate holds the key, and every loser knows the light eternal shows. Will shine on you and those who knew. We nearly made it. But suddenly we seemed to stop and lose our way. But did it really matter anyway? For that was yesterday, and we must live for now. What? What are you talking about? 'Cause every loser wins once the dream begins. In time you'll see fate on the... Stand up and count me. I know you're on my side. Shine down on me and those who believe that we can make it. That sucks. Was this also written by a 15-year-old? Nick Berry. What else has Nick Berry done? Show me Nick Berry's IMDb, thank you. Nick Berry. Good name. Good name. Nope. EastEnders. Nick Berry. Well, does he not have an IMDb? If he doesn't have an IMDb, he should because he has a #1 hit. No IMDb page for him. There he is. He has a Wikipedia. All right, congrats, Nick. You have a Wikipedia. Retired English actor and pop singer, he is best known for his roles as Simon Wick in EastEnders. He attended Sylvia Young Theatre School in London, so he's probably pretty good. He was also on Harbor Lights, the Black Velvet Band. He retired from acting and ran his own production company called Valentine Productions. Nick, cast me your next project. He fractured his skull in a car crash before he was even on EastEnders. That's where the talent came from. He was in a relationship with fellow cast member Gillian Telforth, who played Kathy Beale. Barry married actress Rachel Robertson in 1994. They have 2 sons. He's a supporter of West Ham United. He's a football fan. He was in 4 films. He's done some stuff, and he has a production company. Good for him. Way to go, Nick. Okay, Jackie Wilson, December 1986. Reet Petite, #1 for 4 weeks. Reet Petite, okay?
After leaving doo-wop group Billy Ward and his Dominoes, Jackie Wilson announced himself as a solo artist with Reet Petite in November 1957.
That's the Jackie Wilson?
A brass-led rock and roll modelled barn burner, Wilson's vocal gymnastics showcased every trick in the book. Including brass mirroring whoops. And the chorus's forceful rolled R's. It launched his stellar chart career in the States.
Lonely teardrops. My pillow never dry. Higher,
That's how I know him.
higher and higher.
Right.
Get the sweetest feeling, honey, the sweetest.
Reet Petite is undeniably the most important song on this list. One of its songwriters, Berry Gordy, saw how little he was making from Wilson's hits and moved to produce and release records on his own label, forming Tamla Motown in 1959. Wilson's life, though, was filled with missed chances and despair, often for his own doing. His relationships with women led him to be married multiple times, with 6 children, alongside numerous affairs, and in 1961 was shot twice by a former girlfriend.
What?
Despite his chart success, he was broke, failed to pay his tax or child support, and was running on mostly amphetamines and alcohol.
Jackie, damn. That alimony will drag you down. But the amphetamines probably helped him out.
In 1975, he collapsed on stage from a heart attack while performing with the Dick Clark Revue in New Jersey, hitting his head as he fell to the floor. He remained in an unresponsive state for the next 9 years until his death in January 1984.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
almost 3 years later, he got his first UK #1, at Christmas no less. The UK, for the most part, hadn't appreciated Jackie Wilson's music as much as in the States. There, he had a formidable collection of top 20 singles. In the UK, he managed only a handful, but he did have fans. His records were Northern Soul staples, and in 1972, Van Morrison wrote Jackie Wilson Said in tribute, his first line nodding to his debut single.
Jackie Wilson said it was Reet Petite.
Then, a decade later in 1982, Dexy's Midnight Runners got a top 5 hit covering that song. Is this gradual groundswell of influence how Wilson got to Christmas #1? No. London-based animators Giblets made an impressive, if silly, claymation video synced to Reet Petite. And it was broadcast on BBC Arts programme Arena in late 1986. Renewed interest led to a single re-release, led to it getting to #1 at the end of December 1986. For a long time, Reet Petite held the title for the slowest journey to UK #1.
Wow,
29
yeah.
years since its original release.
Oh my gosh.
But Kate Bush, with Running Up That Hill, has since claimed that title, it being 37 years between its 1985 release and getting to #1 in 2022.
Stranger Things. I didn't know all that about Jackie Wilson. I just want to look him up. Jackie Wilson. What a voice. What a singer. He's from Detroit, Highland Park, Michigan. I want to read more about his death because that's pretty tragic. Legal problems, financial issues, marriages and children. Yeesh. Illness and death. He was in the middle of singing Lonely Teardrops when he suffered a massive heart attack. On the words, "My heart is crying," he collapsed on stage. Audience members applauded as they initially thought it was part of the act. Clark sensed something was wrong, then ordered the musicians to stop the music. Wilson was not breathing. They tried to resuscitate him. They rushed him to the hospital. According to Larry Geller, Wilson wanted to sweat profusely during his performances, explaining to Elvis Presley the chicks love it. To induce the effect, he would take a handful of salt tablets and drink a large amount of water before going on stage. High salt consumption is known to be a risk factor for heart disease. Among the other witnesses to be the first meeting with Elvis, no one ever confirmed that this story was serious and that it was not a joke. Okay. Made by a man who had lost a kidney, so taking salt tablets would be unlikely. Okay, maybe that was urban legend. He went into a coma, recovered in 76 and was able to take a few wobbly steps but slipped back into a semi-comatose state. Damn. Elvis Presley covered a large portion of Wilson's medical bills. Wow. He died in 1984 at the age of 49 from complications of pneumonia. Oy. Okay. That's tragic. Wow. Okay, let's perk it back up. Jackie Wilson died a long time ago. He had a hit song. He was a rock star. Right? He had it good. Most of the time. Y'all, this is turning out to be a pretty long video, so I think we're going to chop this up and do part 2 Friday. Well, thank you. I want to thank my patrons. I want to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank you. Thank y'all for watching this with me. And I'll see you Friday for part 2. Later.